During the first Lu Bu encounter, I lost count of how many times I got my ass kicked, and so I went into the fight against corrupted Lu Bu fearing the worst. I was, however, surprised at how well I managed this boss battle, beating him on my second attempt. Although many regard corrupted Lu Bu as one of the most difficult boss fights in Wo Long, I would say it was surprisingly easy. In this video, I'll break down the boss fight and try to help you if you're having problems with this guy. Before I get into it though, can I ask that you subscribe to my channel for more content like this and give the video a thumbs up. Also comment if you have any additional thoughts or questions. In readiness for this boss encounter, you might want to add some equipment that provides fire resistance. That is because many of his attacks involve fire damage, so this can help in that respect. Conversely, you may wish to buff up with water elemental wizardry spells, as that is a particular weakness of Lu Bu. If like me however, and you have neglected water wizardry spells, you must rely on learning his moveset and deflecting as much as possible, which isn't that difficult. It is also worth pointing out that unlike the first Lu Bu encounter, you do actually receive some support this time round in the form of his sister Ong Jing, who will fight by your side. Although she does little to hurt Lu Bu, she will take some of the aggro off you, which can help give you additional time to use wizardry spells or to use dragon cure pots when needed. I'm going to start this video by focusing on Lu Bu's critical attacks, and there's a few of them that we need to be mindful of. If you do get caught in them, then it can result in an instant death, so it's quite important that you do deflect as many of these as possible. The first critical attack I'll focus on then is when he decides to conjure up these fireballs and blast them across the arena at you. There are 3 in total until late on in the fight when he decides to mix it up with 4, but ultimately each one gets quicker and quicker and you need to deflect last minute to actually avoid and send it back at him. The annoying thing about this attack is that when you've actually deflected, you're too far away from the boss to actually deal any damage to him. In another critical attack, Lu Bu goes airborne before crashing down on the player, and the trick here is just to deflect as he's about to hit the ground. If you leave it till late on, then you'll avoid the attack without receiving any damage, and you can usually get some counter strokes in as well. Finally, this critical attack can be avoided if you deflect late, and I usually did it towards Lu Bu, but also be wary of any counter damage after successfully deflecting. If you do get caught in this critical attack, then as you can see, you do get caught in a savage combo attack by Lu Bu, and the game tries to catch people out by throwing an extra fireball into this particular critical attack late on in the fight. So instead of 3 coming at you, there's 4, so just be prepared for that and be prepared to deflect another fireball. After managing to stagger Lu Bu, you need to make sure you get in and do your own critical attack, as this is where the majority of the player's damage will come through in this fight. As you can see from these clips, a monumental amount of damage results from a successful critical attack, so that's imperative to make sure you do that throughout the fight. In terms of standard attacks, Lu Bu does a number of slash attacks and ones where he slams his weapon down into the ground. The key thing here is that he's much slower than the first Lu Bu that you encountered, so just try and hold your nerve and deflect really late to ensure that you manage to do so successfully. As I said earlier in this video, Ong Jing does allow you to actually get a bit of respite in the video, and she does take some of the boss's aggro, which allows you to cure up where possible, and also to actually use your own buffs in terms of wizardry spells. Some of his other attacks include these stomps that you can simply back away from or deflect, this crash down that again deflect late on, and also these mini fireballs that you can simply deflect and move out the way of. After a bit of time, Lu Bu will engulf himself in flames, and although this looks really scary, it actually doesn't make much difference in terms of his attacks, apart from the odd AoE that you can see here, and also some more combo attacks. But ultimately you can back up away from the AoE, and you can actually spot his animation by him moving his weapon up into the air. And a lot of the attacks are just simply deflect like you have done up until this point, so it's not something to be overly scared of. Perhaps the most difficult move to avoid was this one, where he jumps and lunges forward with his weapon, but ultimately you can deflect if you actually do so late in the animation. Whilst engulfed in flames, Lu Bu's attacks are very similar to what you've already come across. The main differences is when he does his slash attacks, you'll see this little flick of fire that comes afterwards. He'll also do this attack where he'll send a wave of fire across the floor of the arena, which is very easy to move out the way of or to deflect through, so don't worry too much about that. To get significant success in this fight, you're going to want to dodge or deflect a large portion of his attacks, particularly the critical attacks, and then follow up with your own counter strikes that can stagger Lu Bu and allow you to deal significant damage. Remember that this is not the Lu Bu that you fought at Alolan Pass earlier in the game, which was very, very fast. This is a slow hulking beast that you need to really take your time and hold your nerve when it comes to those deflections. After a few successful ripostes, the Lu Bu fight will be over and you will be finished with Lu Bu once and for all. Thanks for watching, everybody, and remember to subscribe to my channel, Red Dog Gamer. Thanks for watching and see you next time.